Stupid people. Smart homes. Stupid people. Smart homes, stupid people.
Smart homes. Stupid people. Smart homes. Smart homes, stupid people. Smart homes.
Smart homes.
Stupid people.
Smart homes, stupid people. Oh ja. Alexa, ruf's mal.
Mir selbst ist das unangenehm. Darum starte ich den Skillpups-Generator.
Sehr schön, danke. Danke. Sehr schön. Ruf's mal.
Mir selbst ist das unangenehm. Darum starte ich den Skillpups-Generator. Pups-Generator.
Smart homes. Stupid people. Smart homes. Stupid people. Smart homes, stupid people. Alexa, dim the lights to 50%. After that, talk dirty to me. Schimpf mal auf Deutsch.
Dein Wunsch ist mir Befehl, du bratzige Bindei-Pflaume. Für mich bist du eine grießcremige Speiswurst.
Oh ja, bitte.
Du wolltest es so, du widerliche, eklige Bärennuss. Wusstest du vermutlich auch.
Jawohl, danke. Danke. Oh ja. Smart Home Stupid People. Sehr schön. This pleases me. Oh ja. This pleases me. This Smart Home Technologie. Technologie. Alexa, please turn the heating up. I'm very cold. After that, please play Digga Digga.
Here station for porn detected. Porno reader. Object amateur.
Oh no, 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 no. I do not want this. Alexa, stop. Smart homes. Stupid people.
Smart homes. Smart homes, stupid people.
Smart homes, stupid people. Smart homes.
Stupid people. Smart homes. Smart homes, stupid people.
Ja, geht los.
So, here we are, and
Hi.
I can see that our audio is coming through.
Finally.
Man, we just
Oh
talked
my
into
God.
a blank monitor.
For like minutes.
Yeah, what was that? That was like 15 minutes of talking, and only to see that I'm just looking at everything. It's a long day of work. I come back.
Yeah, me too.
Madeline, she cleaned the entire place. And what else did you do?
I was working.
And she was working. See, she was working and cleaning. What a lady.
Yeah.
And all of this at the same time. So we got back in. We set up the set. It feels comfortable. It looks nice. I got my beer. She has her water. Snacks are upstairs. So
Yeah.
So everything's good. Here, look at it. We got sound. Yeah, we got sound. Thank you very much for the feedback. It wasn't until someone said, I don't know if I can hear you. And I'm looking at it and I'm
Is
thinking,
that only me? Or is something wrong here?
that's
Yeah,
sometimes the
that's
way things
good.
work. Maybe the universe doesn't want us to talk about what we're talking about.
Maybe.
Or maybe we're just too stupid to turn our microphones on. Is yours on? Yours is on.
It's on.
Mine is also
yeah,
on.
Not
Look
doing
at that.
the mistakes 2 times.
Oh,
Which is actually a good introduction into our today's topic because
Mm-hmm.
I made this mistake many times. We're going to talk about today about eating and eating in a way that's not good and healthy for your body. And so that we can also, link back to our last episode about the food chains. And oh my God, that was...
I know, I had the light off too. I'm thinking, why is it so pixelated?
How?
Light.
Where it was about, we as humans are part of the food chain.
We spoke about this last episode when we specifically talked about the food chain. And this is why I thought that that's a nice segue into what we're talking about today, which is a bit more personal today on our Wednesday show. Yeah,
but also on the other hand, this part of my life is actually documented as well online. So there are a lot of videos about that topic, because when I went all in, and now I'm saying it, all in.
Well, before you go into that topic, let's tell them what's going on here with that.
I wanted to say that.
Well, why don't you want to do this part?
Oh, okay. No, you're good at it.
Okay, I'm good at it. All right.
You're good at it.
So, for all of you guys listening, we are on Rockfin, Rumble, Twitch, DLive, Telegram, and an audio version on Podbean. Now, today's a bit of a special show, as Madeline was just about to talk about how special it is. And so what we decided to do is we're not streaming live to Telegram today. You can still use the Telegram app and talk to us to your dear heart's content, and we will watch those, and we can even bring you into the show. So if you want to call in today, go into the Smart Home Stupid chat, Telegram chat. We also have the Smart Home Stupid People channel. You can watch and typically listen to the show live. Today, we're not streaming there. Instead, we're going to be streaming to Madeline's YouTube channel, where she documented her journey of going all in, as it was called.
Yeah.
And we're doing it because it's kind of a joint adventure today. So before we go into what all in is, how long has it been since you had gone all in? 2020, I can see. Actually, mid-year.
2.5 years, actually. Yeah. So it was March 2020.
Maybe even a little later.
Yeah.
A little late. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. It was
March
spring, summer.
2020.
Yeah, that's true. So as I mentioned, we are streaming to Rockfin, Rumble, Twitch, DLive in video form today, also on YouTube. And what's your YouTube channel called?
Dr. Madeline Siege.
So Dr. Madeline Siege?
Dr. Madeline Siege.
Yeah, and you're going to have to spell that for those of us
It's not Dear Madeline Siege, but Doctor.
So
like the PhD version.
Yes.
DR.
But you have to spell your name. That's not the difficult part. The doctor thing, I think that people will figure out. It's the Siege.
It's the
where they're
Siege.
like, what the hell kind of a letter is Ts?
So it's Z-I-E-G-E.
And how do you spell your first name? Because it's not Madeline and it's not Madeline.
It's Madeline, M-A-D-L-E-N.
There we go. See, I have fun with that. All right. So Dr. Madlen Z or Z. I-E-G-E. Now I have to say Z for those Canadians out there so who don't know what Z is.
Oh, I don't know what Z is. Never heard about that.
Really? You only learned Z?
Yeah.
Ah, no shit.
Yeah.
There you go.
No
Yeah,
shit.
maybe the British, they do the whole Z thing too. Right?
Oh, okay.
So it's
Yeah.
the Americans, they say Z.
Never heard about that.
Yeah, what is that all about? We were watching Stargate Atlantis. They called it a ZPM, and then the one Canadian comes in and he's like, it's a ZPM.
That's right.
See? Now you know. That's why. It's a thing.
Now I understand.
So
all these years.
Exactly. And so as I mentioned last time, we were also on Twitch and DLive in video format, but Smart Home Slow People is the name of the show. And as you guys just witnessed and saw, for those of you who are watching us, we had a nice funky little hiccup here where we just talked into the air for 15 minutes without anybody hearing a word we're saying. And we decided instead of resetting the streams to just push play on the channel. So I'm going to have to fix that later and re-upload. But that also brings up another good point. I'll talk about it one more time. We are making Rockfin our home. Now, what does that mean is, or what it really means is that you'll still find our videos on Rumble. And on DLive, I believe DLive will always show videos for the last week until you pay to make them do it, longer. Twitch, I don't think they actually store videos unless you pay for it either. I'm not going to do that. Rumble, we're only going to be showing videos to the public from the last week or so. So the last 3 or 4 episodes I'll typically keep up. And Rockfin will have all of them. Right. So Rockfin is our home. So if you want to see all of the Smart Home Stupid People episodes, you go there. Live will always be for free. So if you guys want to join us Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central European time or on Sunday at 6 p.m. Central European time, it's always free to watch and join in and ask questions and tell us you want to call in, and we will call you via the Telegram app and bring you into the show, and you can converse with us live. Very fun. Rockfin also has a premium subscription thingy going on too. So we are going to be showing all of the videos from the last like 3 or 4 videos for free, always for people to see. But if you want to see the archived videos, you'll have to subscribe to Rockfin. Rockfin is kind of like, it's got a Netflix kind of subscription model, and it's also based on a cryptocurrency. That means that for all us videocasters and podcasters who eventually get a piece of the pie, it's based on some cryptocurrency that's going to be a pain in the ass to exchange into real money. I mean, Rockfin I find to be really great as far as a financial incentive. I'm not sure if that's all there. The reason why we went to Rockfin is because the content is awesome, and there hasn't been any censorship from any of the censorship gods, and nobody has slapped us on the hands yet. As far as and YouTube was a pain in the ass. They were constantly slapping us on the hands, which is why we don't stream to YouTube except for today. Today's going to be an exception because I think it's actually a really nice joint adventure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm gonna not cut you off anymore, and
thank you.
Oh yeah, and now that everybody knows where to find us and knows what we're up to. Well, you got the leaf in your ear?
The plant is attacking me.
Yeah, really, So why don't you tell people about All In, and what it really... Because I think that a lot of people, when they hear, there's going to be another eating disorder show, they're probably tuning in already. Why don't you tell us about the way that you were able to conquer eating disorders by using All In?
Yeah. So it's... Before you go, All In it was for me the answer to a couple of eating disorders I had for many years, although I didn't know that I had these kind of things, because it was always very normal for me to just, restrict eating and to switch between diets. So I was vegetarian, I was not really vegan, but, then keto, Ayurvedic, all these kind of crazy things. I was always trying to control my body weight, the way I look. I exercised a lot. Is that not? Oh, okay. You have it in front of my face.
Well, we want to see your pretty face so we know what you look like after the whole All In adventure.
Yep.
Right?
So, and over the years, I think I already started when I was 11 or something. My mother, she's smaller than I'm almost 180 meters. What's how many feet?
180 centimeters. You're like almost 6 foot.
Yeah, so I'm pretty tall, and like a not fat girl. I was never really
beefy.
fat, but I wasn't beefy. But I was just a normal teenager. And my mother, she's smaller than I am, and also just like she's built smaller. And she always kind of looked at me, and a couple times she said things like, "Oh, you could diet a little, and then you would attract more men."
With 11?
Yeah, these kind of things,
See,
right?
that's where it starts.
That's where it started. So that's how I started. I went to school. I didn't eat breakfast, had no lunch, and then I was so hungry during the dinner time. And also over the weekend, I thought, I'll just like dig in as much as I wanted to over the weekend. I overate, and that was going on for years. And then I went to university. I exercised a lot. I was vegetarian for 10 years from like a moral point of view. But I also realized that over years, it didn't really did a lot of good to my body. I was actually craving meat in between. And it got really worse when I was during my PhD time. I was at that time also, like I ended up a relationship, and for many, many years I was free for the first time in my life, just really enjoying that single life. And, I wanted to just look attractive and pretty. And I thought, well, I just diet a little more. I went to Canada at this time and...
But what part of you didn't feel pretty? Was it that you felt that you needed to lose weight?
Yeah, I always felt like, I need to lose weight. I need to exercise more. And I kind of pushed my body into a weight range around 60 kilo where I saw myself. But obviously that was not where my body wanted to naturally settle. So I constantly had to fight it in order to stay there. Mm-hmm. So I was restricting my eating.
But before you go any further, I mean, what was what were you around a lot of thin women? Did you see what triggers that kind of thing?
Yeah, a couple of things. So I think that, comments from my mother obviously didn't do a lot of good to me. Always comparing myself to her and also to other women. And yeah, I mean, all this fitness industry as well always kind of, shows you or tells you that you're only worth if you are trained and if you can see the abs and all that. And with a woman, you have to be at a certain body fat level in order to see the muscles. We are not men, we're women. And so it's hard for you to train a lot and still so people can see it actually.
I'm gonna say something about that.
Yeah, sure.
If you're cool with that, so for those of you out there, a lot of you don't know me, obviously. With Madeline, you can see her all in Journey. She's been posting it, and she created a beautiful fan base and community. And fan base is even the wrong word. It's really more of a community in the sense that a lot of women actually came to you afterwards and really befriended you and got over their problems with your advice, or at least used you as something that helped them to continue going.
Absolutely.
Not all of them succeeded, but at the same time, it was still, the support was there. And I think that was something that you had started and you'd done really well, specifically in the German world. There wasn't anybody else in the German world talking about this.
True.
So you were probably the first one to really do that there. Yep. And now, all the years later, I'm going to get into it in a second about like the big changes and all that. But one thing I want to kind of say for all of you guys out there who don't know me, I was raised, I'd say my mother put me into gymnastics when I was 3. So I was raised in a gym all the way into my late teens when I quit gymnastics because, how can I best say this? I wanted to hang out with girls and skateboard. I was competitive, right? Like, I mean, I had to go to going to school full time, and then they wanted me to go to gym for 20, 25 hours a week because they told me that I have to go to the Olympics and shit. It wasn't interesting for me. Yeah. I wanted, and the whole gymnastics and the formalities, I loved flipping around. I loved flipping on a trampoline and power tumbling. And that was it. I wasn't interested in presenting to a judge and learning routines. It was too stupid for me. And so, and a lot of the people I grew up with, one thing I kind of want to, talk about is that I grew up around Olympic athletes. I grew up around stuntmen. I grew up around astronauts. I grew up around circus people. And, I never, for me, the whole idea of dieting was never really there. It was more like, oh, you want to do more exercise? Okay, let me show you how to feed yourself better and more. But it was the idea of restriction was never there for me, right? And so for me, it was more like I always ate as much as I want. My father, he's a pastry chef, but he went to culinary school in France, in Paris. My mother, she's a nutritionist, so I was always raised around this insanity. But like really, when you think about it, it's not insanity, but I mean, when I thought it was normal to be raised like that, and then I started traveling the world and meeting vegetarians who live off of pasta noodles, chocolates, and nuts. It's very strange, right, to see these people crashing because of their belief system, and I don't want to kind of like jump from one thing to another too much, but the big thing that I kind of wanted to emphasize was we eat. We eat because we live. Yeah. And we want to do well with our lives. I think that's an innate thing, and this is kind of that segue from the last episode into this one. Yeah. What would you say about an animal who crashed diets and why? Right?
Well, again, I'm probably not so spontaneous. My answer is the first time when we had the microphones off.
Well, we're reformulating things now, so I'm trying to kind of bring some of the points back in.
My answer was like, I would think this animal is stupid. I mean, it obviously didn't get the memo about evolution that you have to feed yourself in order to survive. And I was maybe to just bring it into a little more context, before I'm actually talking about this, to bring it to a point where I'm today. So again, for years and years, I had that restriction going between different diets, always controlling my weight. I can't remember any time where I really just, let myself go. I always had these rules, not like no food before 7 or 10 in the morning or these kind of things. I did also the intermediate fasting for a while, and that really kicked in with me. I lost a lot of weight, Ayurvedic and all that. And at the end, I was around 50 kilos something with my height. No,
which is not good.
No,
it's not
50
good. Kilos. That's like, what is that? Like under 120 pounds, and she's almost 6 foot tall.
Yeah, so I look like almost
and
like
she's got a German bone structure, so she's not designed to be that small.
Yeah,
right.
German bone structure.
It's the fact, right? If it wasn't, then I wouldn't say it.
That's fine.
Right.
That's what I also learned.
And what I want to say about the muscles as well, too. Going back to that, for me growing up in a gym. it was something that we all knew. You didn't, if you're a man, your abs started showing at a certain body weight. You have to get under a certain amount of fat. And with women, it was the same thing. And the gym actually did a good job, the one that I was at, to tell us, because I'm not saying this to sound funny. I was between 3 and 5% body fat until I was 25 years old, right? Which for most men is very difficult to achieve. But I just kept that going, and I always had it, right? And so here I am, almost 40 years old, and body fat, I'm still doing pretty good, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that body fat's a bad thing. It's more, has a lot to do with activity and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But with women focusing on trying to get abs and stuff like that, this was actually something, I'll bring it up in a second. The question.
Okay, perfect.
This was something that my gym did a good job at telling the women, listen, if you get too addicted to try and showing your muscles off all the time, understand that when the women drop below 10% body fat, hormonal changes occur that are not good for specifically women who are already fruit bearing, let's say it that way, because obviously in the gymnastics world, many of the athletes are still young, right? But essentially, even still, like when you're going through puberty, it's really important to not damage your hormones like that either.
Absolutely. And
so I just kind of wanted to hint at that too, that women trying to strive for abdominals that look like men is
insane.
It's not necessarily insane. You're right. I mean, it is kind of nuts if you're comparing yourself to men all the time.
No problem.
But it's something that's gonna be very, very, very difficult. And if you don't have that genetic disposition, and it's not easy for you, you're gonna be going down a dark road.
Absolutely. And now today I really know that, we all have like our very individual body structure and also our individual weight where our body feels healthy. And this is where, if you let it, it's kind of settles down, so-called set point weight. But just to bring that into today. So again, I was at that bad point. I was no carbs, nothing anymore, and just constantly exercising couple hours a day. And I remember it was that one situation between us where we had dinner, and you cooked something, and you said, Madeline, here's a potato, eat that potato. And I said, no, I'm not eating that potato. And
actually,
he said, eat that potato.
Yeah, it was specifically, I remember even breakfast, you started pulling all your egg yellows out of your eggs, because you had learned that that's where all the fats and all that stuff is.
I even didn't want to.
Didn't want to.
Didn't want to.
It's all good.
When Eris had like honey on his spoon or anything like that, and he wanted me to try, I was afraid of that honey. I was like, I can't eat that honey.
If you guys saw a couple episodes ago, we had our whole honey wine adventure. We called it alcoholic technology. And I've been making honey wine for many years. And I'm telling Maddy to eat the honey because it's awesome. Like, we got this amazing raw honey from over here. Yeah. And she wouldn't. And
I was afraid of it.
It got to the point where I'm looking at her, and she's doing all this exercise, all this diet, and we're sitting at the table, and I kind of had to test her, right? Sorry, now when I say tactics, I'm not,
get that.
It's one thing to test people, but I actually really wanted to see what happened. So I pushed her a little harder than normal, and I looked at her and I said, I'm not letting you up from the table until you eat an egg yellow. She wouldn't touch it, and then she started crying. And then I knew at that moment there was something really wrong. Yeah. Because it wasn't, to me, interesting to force her to eat anything, but I was interested to see her reaction to just eating one egg yellow.
Yeah, it was like asking me to jump from from a skyscraper or something. And it was awful for me to really have to just eat something that I didn't calculate into my daily plan and didn't know what will happen, because I was really afraid of gaining weight. And it was later on where, we tried to thought about maybe having a family. And obviously with all this weight loss, I had no period for many years.
It was completely gone.
For many years, actually, I had no period. I was first taking, the pill. And then later on, when I got off it, I was already very low in my weight, that I had no natural period for so many years. And although I studied biology, I was like, I didn't care.
Why don't you explain that to us?
Yeah.
Why do women and animals lose their period? I mean, the naked mole rat is a good example of that.
Yeah. So, obviously, that's the first sign of something is not right in your body. And the reproduction is so costly that, it's the first thing that if your body is not able to fuel you like if you're not taking in enough resources and energy,
Or if the environment isn't fruitful enough.
Yeah, right. Maybe the environment is not fruitful enough. The reproduction is the first thing that will get cut off because it's not important for
Immediate survival.
survive. But on a long term, okay, it would be nice, to have the offspring. But this is kind of like a luxury. It only works if the fitness is really high, if the body is really working well. And
So when the body thinks that you might not even survive, then there's no point in trying to have reproduction because they won't survive if you won't.
Absolutely, that's the point. And so losing your period, losing your libido, all these points are a huge sign of you being in stress. Like your body is in stress. It's maybe in fight or flight mode. It feels like, oh, it's not safe here. I have to run, or I have to fight, or I have to hide, and puts all these energies into just surviving mode. And that's what I was for many, many years, always just in that survival mode, in the fight or flight mode, and always stressed, always just angry and kind of depressed as well. I didn't know where that came from until I went all in. And now we're at that point where I say all in. All in means just eating as much as you want, whenever you want, at which time you want. So there are no restrictions. This is basically going all in. And so when it was clear, something is wrong, and I want to heal, I want to be able to have my period back, and to maybe, have a family as well, I went to different specialists. I went even to a child wish clinic, and they wanted to put me under.
Child wish clinic isn't the English term.
How you say that?
Well,
I always translated it like that.
That's how it translates directly into English. But it's she went to a clinic for I don't even know what they would call it.
I looked it up as child wish.
Child wish clinic in English, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Or did you? Okay. Well,
no, I didn't make that up.
I'll stop talking.
I looked it up.
Please keep going.
And they wanted to put me on under artificial hormones, and also,
Sorry, what is an artificial hormone?
Well, something that
I know what it is.
Well, it's we have the normal hormones that are produced by our bodies, such as estrogen, for example, or testosterone. And in the laboratory, the researchers are able to reproduce that on an artificial level. Is that
taken from bovine, mostly?
Yeah, well, there's a biological.
It's important. I think it's important to know this.
Yeah, it's
right. All you vegans out there. I mean, if you go out and start getting artificial hormones for your fertility, it's from a cow, essentially.
Probably,
right?
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
And so I rejected all of it. I didn't want this. I didn't want this. And I kind of ran out of that whole clinic because it was awful. Just, all these desperate people there who wish for a child. And I was sitting there, having barely like 50 kilos in my height. And no one told me, like, maybe she has to eat more. Maybe you have to eat more, as that would be the solution. But they just wanted to sell me all this.
Well, you even told me you had spoken to, I believe, a gynecologist and said that you're going to try and do it naturally.
Yeah.
And her answer was, well, you should go on the hormones just in case, so that while you're trying your natural crap, that this will guarantee your success. And it was funny because she was more concerned about the goal of getting you pregnant than you being healthy. Yeah,
it was really weird. So I decided to not go there anymore. And then I went to my doctor. She also kind of put me on an Ayurvedic diet.
Your doctor started that with you?
Yeah, she started with, because I had this massive digestive problems. It's like I was bloated all the time. I had like awful, I couldn't go to the toilet for days. So it was just, everything was messed up with me. I even almost had the diagnosis of, was that multiple sclerosis?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had problems with my bladder. It was sometimes urgent.
They wanted to look at neural dysfunctions.
Yeah, neural dysfunctions, because sometimes I had so much pressure on my bladder, and I couldn't hold it, to a point where I'd sometimes really, like take precautions. And if I'm going in the supermarket or something like that,
you had to see if there's a bush nearby.
Yeah, and it was like instant. It's always said, like, Maddy, when you tell me you have to go to the toilet, which means like I have like a minute or something to find something for you. So it was awful. And I went to other people, like other specialists who did a lot of tests, sometimes even painful, with all the bladder stuff and the uterus. And and at the end, they said maybe, you have some like a nerve damage and it's multiple sclerosis. I never went to that
Crazy.
MRT in order to test for that.
How is it like, these people, they start with the symptoms and then start with the catastrophes and move backwards?
Yeah, I know. Like it was not a good time for me.
Except for the Children Wish Clinic. It's still a weird word for me to, but except for I think it was more like fertility clinics, we call them.
Yeah.
But nevertheless,
maybe is that the word?
Well, nevertheless, the point is that it's really strange to see that they weren't actually encouraging your health in the beginning. Or,
I had not the impression, so I really went out of that. And so I was lost. I didn't know what else to do anymore. I didn't want to live like that anymore, just all the restrictions, and was constantly thinking about food. That was something over years and years. Already in the morning, I thought about, before I went to bed, I thought about what I can eat in the morning for breakfast, because I was always so hungry and restricting myself, always having that intermediate fasting with 16 hours no food and 8 hours food or eating. And it was just too much.
Well, and this is the thing, is that we kind of talked about this when we were muted before, is that Madeline's problem, the reason why she went all in isn't because she just felt like eating everything. The problem that she had was that she was going, even dieting. I think that restrictive dieting, there has to be a specific reason why you'd be restrictive dieting. And I think that it's not for the average person. I'll just say that from my opinion, right? And I say it from my opinion because I have always eaten a lot and I've always eaten well. And I've always eaten. It's funny. I think that my diet isn't a lot, or what I eat daily isn't a lot. But in contrast to the average person working on a job site and being in Germany, the Germans are so work oriented. They just stop eating, and they it's very normal here. They eat a big breakfast and maybe a little lunch and a little dinner, and that's the end of it. It's crazy. And so with you, the problem was you were just jumping from diet to diet to diet to diet.
It was awful.
With fasting, with colonics, enemas, whatever you want to call them, and all of this stuff together in this constant, I don't know, like search for to fill your addiction, because that's what it became to you. Dieting became an addiction.
It became an addiction, and it was like something where I could control myself. It had a lot to do with self-control, lots about how I looked like, how I wanted to shape my body. And that was also the main point I had to tackle with the whole thing in order to heal, because I was so afraid of putting on weight. That was the main focus. And so I went to... It was not a shamanic healer, but she was like also body orientated. It was alternative healing.
It's like a naturopath.
Yeah,
of sorts.
kind of. And together we kind of really went deep and looked for the reasons why I was so afraid of gaining weight. And it had to do with, me. I didn't want it to look like a woman, because I had in the past, that was in my childhood and my teenage time, some experiences with men where, which were not so pleasant, and that I really connected with becoming a woman. And with that, I was so afraid of look like a woman again, with all the curves, so that I tried to look more like a man, or just try to even disappear. I wanted to disappear, and I wanted to just push it further to see how much I can control myself. That was basically the idea behind it. And once we dig deeper, and I was able to look at these memories and the emotions that were behind it and to release them, all of a sudden I was able to go all in, which meant, slowly I ate, like slowly I actually gave in to my cravings. And at the beginning I was not really, from one day to another jumping into it, but it was slowly, my body kind of slowly showed me the way. I was craving a lot of dairy products, which I knew, or which I learned later on that this was essentially because when you are that low in weight and you haven't eaten a lot the last months or even years, and then you start to, really stuff yourself with stuff, it's actually quite dangerous. It's so-called the refeeding syndrome, which means like you flood your body with all these minerals and vitamins and magnesium, calcium, these things haven't been there before because you depleted yourself so much that there is such a huge shift and it's too quick that you can have edema, you can even have become a heart attack or something from that.
Yeah, you can get a heart attack. Yeah, it's one of these things. Like I've heard a lot of that stuff. We have a couple of things I want to put up here. A couple questions.
Yeah, there are people coming in.
The important thing I want to say is I honestly think that you have to be really far gone. To have negative reactions from eating enough.
Absolutely.
Because what you're telling me, I've heard from a lot of people, but I think that, like I said, is that it has to be pretty extreme for it to get to that level, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually that term refeeding syndrome comes from a study. Oh, I forgot about it. I talk a lot about it in my YouTube videos when I really documented my journey. That's actually also maybe just to make the full circle now. When I started going all in, I watched a lot of videos in English from, girls from America and England and Australia, but I couldn't find anything in German. And well, I'm lucky, I can understand and speak English really well, but I thought, what about all these women who are not able to understand it so well? And maybe even older women who, there is no content in German. So I decided to document content, Yeah, I said it.
I heard continent.
No, there's also no continent in German, but no content. That's why I decided I want to document it. And so I made videos about it. When I went all in, the day I decided to go all in and then document my journey, what I ate, how much I ate, how I felt. And I still remember that the first weeks were awful. I felt like a train was just running over me. I had pain everywhere. My heart was pumping like crazy. I actually could feel a little bit of that refeeding syndrome because I was already gone so far.
So I want to read a couple comments off real quick.
Yes,
and
nice.
I'd like to actually, we kind of talked about this in the first version of this, the 15 minutes that we spoke with the muted microphones, that we're going to kind of conduct this today as an interview of me interviewing you and taking the questions from the people and really trying to, maybe even for you to look at it in a direction that you never even saw it before, to try and really figure out why and how and where the success really came. Because from what I'm hearing already, something that I already kind of knew from what I witnessed, because we were together the whole time you went all in. All in for you wasn't about weight. It wasn't about food, and it wasn't about nutrition. It was about fear.
Yeah, it's true.
And so I think that the biggest thing for you with going all in was actually going all in and getting over your fear of being able to go all in. Yeah.
I also just wanted to stop all of this. I wanted to stop the addiction with the exercising. It had to end. I was done with it. I didn't know what else to do anymore. And I was at that point where I would have done everything. And that was actually the last thing to do. I don't know. Somehow I stumbled over, a couple of videos about a woman. Her name is Kayla. She was a former fitness model and also competitive. So she was really into that whole scene, right? Starving herself. And she had the same problems that I had on a different level, but then she went all in and she explained how it worked for her. And all her videos were so helpful for me that I thought maybe I don't have to, I'm not supposed to be that lean. Maybe my body wants to be somewhere else. And the more I watched her videos, the more I thought like, maybe I really want to try this. I really think this will help me. There was just like a strong intuition that I should do this. And once I gave in my cravings, I really had to trust my body. It was scary. Like I was eating so much. It's hard to believe.
So we have...
I see a lot of hearts there.
Okay. I'll read some of them. So we have here with Woke Up with Ashley. I recently went all in and documented it on my channel too.
Nice.
Setting lots of love and support from Hollywood. And it's one of these things, and then afterwards she said, let your body lead the way. Ashley, if you're in the middle, if you're starting your journey, this is one of these things. We're going to go through some pictures.
Oh my God.
I know. This is the part that Madeline's going to dread.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
And I can say, I would say that something that I think that a lot of people didn't really talk enough about, because I watched quite a few of those videos as well, because I find it to be fascinating. For me, I've always actually been interested in health, coming from a background of health and athletics. I would say like eccentric athletic past, right?
Yeah.
I think that for you, and I'll say it before I comment on that. For me, I know that I can't imagine what my life would have been like without having the mental clarity and the agility of being able to I don't know, like to be able to do the things that I can do and not fear, right?
Yeah.
And with you, that was the big thing that changed after it. I think it started maybe about 2-3 months in, where you started laughing more. You mentioned it felt like your head was out of the clouds.
Yeah, it was
and it
amazing.
was in there for years.
Right? I was gone for years. It was amazing, really. Like already after the first couple days, I felt like just such a relief that there was no more thinking about, like, I was still thinking about food. That actually lasted for the next couple weeks. But I already felt like my body was like a sponge, really sucking up all that stuff I was eating. And I could feel how I had night sweats for weeks.
Yeah,
there was something going on in me. And I really had to trust my body. It was scary. Like, as I said, my heart was beating faster for weeks, and I was sweating a lot. I had pain all over me. I had edema. So at the beginning, it got worse, right? But that mental part went pretty fast, much better. So my head became more clear, and my mood just changed so dramatically. I was way happier, and my libido came back, as you might also have realized. And I pretty quick, I also put on a lot of weight within the first couple of weeks. 10-15 kilos. I don't really remember anymore, but it was a
we'll
lot.
look at the pictures. I mean, you can probably,
you
guys
at the
will
pictures,
see,
Are there more comments? Or you go through it.
Okay, well, let's go to a couple here.
Okay.
So we have Woke Up With Ali. She says, I got terrible edema, but it does get better.
Yeah.
I had to gain about 50 pounds in recovery. That was about the same as what
it was
you,
the same when I had.
And it was extreme.
Yeah.
But if you take it day by day and eat what you want, your body sorts itself out. Now, this is something that I kind of like, I think is really important. And just so you guys know, the comments are coming in real time. I'm just trying to cue them up.
We're like
properly.
ping-ponging, but thank you very much. Yeah.
I want to say that this is something that I've always said to a lot of the people I work with, a lot of the colleagues, friends of mine. I had a lot of martial art friends. And, I kept telling them, I said, guys, you got to eat more, not less. That's not your problem. Isn't with what you should be restricting. It's with what you should be focusing on, right? It's the wrong approach if you're constantly looking at what you don't want. But again, obviously, if you're someone who eats potato chips and Mars bars and stuff like that, or anything that you can't pronounce, that was actually a rule of mine. Very simple. I had a friend of mine when I was in my teens tell me, you come from this like healthy food and background and all that stuff. And I thought to myself back then, thinking, do I really? Like, is it really that strange? And he asked me, he said, how can you help me be more healthy? And I said, start reading the ingredients before you eat them. And if you don't know what it is or you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, during the all-in process at the beginning, my body was so starved that I craved all the shitty stuff, Pizza,
for you, shitty stuff is not the shitty stuff in North America. I have to say that.
You have to say
your
that,
shitty stuff is you were craving dairy. You were craving cheeses and sugars, and rightfully so. And you were and pizzas and stuff like that. So she was craving a lot of white flour, a lot of starchy sugars, stuff that got
cakes,
right?
And all
like
that.
All of a sudden, the body knew. Oh my God, there's good stuff in our environment. Where is this all coming from? And so the body was just like craving all of these saturated fats and all of that stuff. And that, she had to gorge. And that's, and that was it,
I bathed in it.
Right?
And it was amazing. I always thought, ice cream, I'm not interested in ice cream. I don't like ice cream. But that's not true. Monster. I love ice cream. And I'm an ice cream monster now.
So, so going back to that last comment, did your body sort itself out?
Yeah, absolutely.
And did you stop eating the things that you started eating,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
how and was it like something that you had to think about, or did it just eventually tune itself
just
down?
eventually it all sorted itself out. There was no thinking involved, nothing.
See?
Until to this day, I'm amazed how this whole process worked for me, and also for other women, as I could see that during my journey, I met a lot of other women who had the same issues. We were helping each other, and yeah, I could always see that pattern that, at the beginning you are so hungry. You have that mental hunger, which means you have to think about food all the time. And then you have the physical hunger where you basically really you're becoming hungry again. I actually had to learn that again as well. It's like I had no signals anymore because I suppressed them for so many times.
You were numb.
I was numb and I couldn't feel anymore when I was hungry or not, and when I was full or not. That took a while. But the beginning of All In, I ate. Actually 24 hours, honestly. Like I went late into
just
bed.
waking up in the middle of the night going for like snacks.
Yeah, I had snacks in the middle of the night, and in the morning I started eating every time. So the whole time there was no meals. It was just
Yeah, it's funny because I don't eat things like cookies and stuff. I just don't. I don't have that craving.
Yeah.
It's like I'll say with me, my diet. I don't think about it, and I've always eaten very seasonally. Now retrospectively, looking back at it, and I just remember, Madeline was all of a sudden eating like she was buying all these cookies and ice cream. So I'm thinking, if they're hanging around, I'll have one or two, right? Why not? But I would go into the cupboard and look at the cookies, thinking, I'll have a cookie with my coffee today. Why not?
No,
and I look at like they're already gone.
Yeah,
they're just like yesterday.
Even the same day.
And then I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll put a spoon of ice cream into my coffee. What? Ice cream's already gone. And she's already making her plan, like the mental journey to the next supermarket, right?
Yeah. That was actually a big part in the beginning of that All In, and I have to say, I was kind of, also shaming myself a little bit because, I lived with Aris. I know that he had that background with healthy eating and all that. And I just did the complete opposite. I was like, I really let myself go. All the ideas I had about myself, I just, flushed them down the toilet. Like I was not that fit girl anymore. I was not slim anymore. I was
the image
lazy. That was the image. I was lazy. I ate a lot of crap stuff and I gained a lot of weight. I became very unflexible. I didn't exercise anymore. That was also part of the whole All In, that you stop exercising.
Yeah, because I think the exercising is a part of the mental problem in the sense that if you're exercising for me, I'll say, when I exercise, it's because I'm trying, I want to develop something. I actually can't stand exercising like doing this over and over again unless I'm going towards a specific goal or reason. I like even to learn attributes, so I always like doing a lot of the calisthenic stuff because then I'm getting better at my handstand, I'm getting better at certain motions and movements and all that stuff. And but with you were exercising for what reason? You were exercising for the same reason you weren't eating.
Yeah, just controlling my weight. That was the idea. And I did sports back then that I always thought I liked. And now, actually, I just realized, wait a minute, I don't like that. I was Irish dancing for many, many years, which is a very intense sport. You have to jump a lot. It's a lot of cardio. It's a lot of strength as well involved.
Yeah. So
it's a very, very strong, like it takes a lot of energy from you. And I guess looking back, I just did it because of that, because it was so draining and also made me special somehow. I felt special because it's an exercise or a sport no one else, not many people doing it.
Not in Germany.
Not in Germany. And when I stopped exercising almost for half a year, I didn't do anything, didn't do shit. And after that, I felt a little bit the urge to move. And what I really like is more weight training. This is what I'm doing right now. Just, dancing and weight training. That's what I like.
Well, it's more what you're doing now is more, what do you call it? Aerobics.
Well, kind of.
Yeah, from what I've seen.
Yeah. I just like, just moving with music and all that, and having some weights to
build a sweat
and just, I just like the feeling after when you feel like, the muscles are kind of there. Good. But it's not because of I want to shape it in a way. It's just really fun when I'm doing it, and there's no schedule really for me. So I try to move every day, but if it's a walk in the park or, jumping outside a little bit, there is no plan anymore, really.
Yeah.
And I just really tap into my body, what it wants at that moment. A little more stretching, maybe yoga, and just see how it feels like. And I really have a very good connection now with my body, which I never had before in that way. So
Right.
yeah, it was worth all the struggle.
So Morbid Possum,
Yeah.
nice name.
The Morbid Possum, I
yeah.
like that one.
Says, after starting all in, I woke up a lot. I still wake up, sorry. I still wake up a lot during the night. Did you struggle with this as well? I also struggled with having no appetite and having to force myself to eat. I don't think you had to struggle with the appetite. I think you had.
Not at the beginning. I had a lot of appetite in the beginning, but later on, when I was maybe a year all in, 1.5 years, I realized that my appetite really went down. I had to kind of force myself to eat. And even now, when I'm stressed, just as Ari said, we Germans are kind of forgetting eating when we have a lot of work, and I have that too. So I really have to make that time, sit down, eat a good meal, go for lunch, have a good dinner, because otherwise I will forget about it. I go sometimes over my hunger signals, and this is something I have to watch out, especially on the days where I exercise. And yeah, it's funny from the beginning of all in, being so hungry all the time to now even reminding myself to eat. But the waking up in the night, I had that maybe the first 4 months, I would say. It was really, there was a 3 month mark with me.
You couldn't sleep properly. Yeah.
I couldn't sleep. That was just, I was in pain and all that.
Maybe this is a good time for you to plug your book.
Plug my book?
Your new book. Your upcoming book.
Yeah.
So for you guys out there in the English-speaking world, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, but Madeline just finished writing her second book.
Yeah.
And in German, first off, and it will be translated. And the second book is all about stress.
Yeah, it's all about stress.
It seems to me that you learning about stress in the way that you did over the last year or so while writing this book was kind of like the logical successor to going all in the sense that now that you went all in, you're learning about stress and what it really meant to you.
It opened up a new view on the world for me. Like, all in really changed my life, not only with my body and the relationship to my body.
So what's the title of the book, just so that we know?
Well, in English, as I said, we haven't sold the rights yet.
I think it's very relevant.
Well, it's called The Unbelievable Power of Nature, How Stress Shows Animals and Plants the Way, or is leading and guiding, right? So it's the idea that stress is actually not something negative, but is for us a sign that something is wrong in our environment, that we are not at our highest potential. And this is what stress is for me, that when our potential goes down, our performance goes down, then there is stress. But we are meant to be in a high performance, and the high performance only works when we are well nourished, our body is healthy, we are, with happy people surrounding us. And whenever you feel stress, there's always a sign that, wait a minute, something is not right here. And which means maybe you have to change in your environment, maybe you have to go somewhere else, or you have to change the people you are going, interacting with, or the diet. And for me, I had a couple things in my life that stressed me out. But the diet and the eating was the biggest thing, because it took away so much from my health that even if I wanted to, I was not able to do anything else at that moment. So eating the way you want and your body craves is such an essential part of your life, because if you're not fueling yourself well, you have no energy to live the life that you want, like writing books or exercising or just sitting with your partner and being happy. It really takes out so much from your life. That's why I'm very, very happy that I made that step, because now I'm very happy. I'm very much where I wanted to be.
I think it's actually very fascinating to see that you, as a biologist, struggled.
World-class biologist.
Absolutely. You struggled actually making that connection from your studies to your reality.
Yeah.
And then you went all in, and all of a sudden, a lot of those connections they made sense.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
And so
that.
now all of a sudden, you as a biologist,
Yeah.
you're like rethinking the entire industry and order of biology based off of actually something very simple, which is just connecting to reality.
Yeah. I
Right?
mean, I learned all this, I learned how women works and the menstruation cycle and all that, how important it is. But back then I didn't make the connection. I thought, well, I don't want to have kids right now, so I don't care. But that the estrogen level and your hormone level is important, not only because you are fertile, but it has so many aspects onto your health. It makes your head nice and clear when you have all your hormones in check. Makes you happy. It has a lot to do with your mood, the density of your bones. There's so many aspects into it. And yeah, I met a lot of women who had the same issue, no period because they were too low in weight, but didn't care and didn't.
Yeah, they thought to themselves, "Oh, I don't have to worry about birth control."
Yeah.
Right?
And
Crazy.
it's like it's not nice anyway, so I don't need this. But just essentially thinking about this is a part of your biology, and if this is not there, well, guess what? I think there are also other issues you have. Yeah.
So
There are a lot of other comments. So
yeah.
maybe,
So Wake Up with Ashley asks, "How is your body image now?" I think this is a good time to maybe show some of the slides.
yeah, sure.
All right, so
Yeah,
let's do that.
and then we can maybe I'll answer that question right now, or first one is show.
Well, it's your opinion. I can't. Go for it.
Well, so my body image now of myself is a very positive one.
And how old are you?
What?
How old are you?
I'm almost 40.
All right, so you guys can write into the comments whether you think that she looks like a nice, healthy 40-year-old or not.
I feel like a nice, healthy 40 years old. And I also have to say, I never felt so beautiful and authentic than I am right now. Just, also saying that kind of was weird for me back then. I always tried to have that certain image of myself. Always checked myself in the mirror. How flat is my belly, and just my posture and all that, and this checking out. I don't do this anymore, maybe occasionally, but I have that inner confidence that I never had before. I have that inner confidence that I'm good the way I am. I am just perfect the way I am, and that now I am at the point where I also allowed my body to become what it really wants to become, who I really am. And I am more in, how you say that, this is in alliance with myself. And this is the best feeling ever. And I think every woman out there, if you are really living your nature, if you're happy with who you really are, not only with the body type, but also, what kind of things you like in life, your hobbies and all that, and really aligning all these things, you are start to glowing in a way that you can never achieve through Botox or whatever, or to dieting. It's that inner beauty that's so individual, that this is the essence, I would say, right? Yeah.
This brings up the next question, which I can attest to. I'm going to skip a few and come back. So take it one at a time. But I'm trying to sort them in.
From me.
I'm starting to sort them in relevance here.
Yeah, nice that you're all there and commenting. That's really cool. I haven't been on my channel, I have to say, for a while because
it's old news for you now.
It's old news for me on one hand also, and nothing really changes for me anymore. I kept making videos, but I feel like I've said everything actually. Yeah.
Well, so the next one is was the increase in weight an issue in the relationship?
Maybe I can ask you that.
This is why I said that I can attest to it. Now, before I answer anything, let's show the pictures.
Yeah, sure. All right. Let's start with the pictures.
Black Check can answer it while I show the pictures. So this is Madeline in 2019. Now, she had already been up and down for years. I'm going to take the microphone.
This is actually at a point where I think I was around 70 kilos. That was
you were all right there.
Yeah, that was when we were together for maybe 2 years or so. It actually, I have to say, I went all in a couple times, but didn't really know, did not know about it, what all in really means. When I met Eris, I was not really thinking about food anymore. We were eating together. We were cooking a lot. And so I gained weight. And then I started working out a lot. I really had a meal plan from my fitness instructor with, I think, over 4,000 calories a day. And so I gained weight and also built muscles really fast. I think that was in that time.
Yeah,
where you can see
well,
that.
so now
yeah.
we're seeing 2018 as well. I think these are
Yeah.
the oldest pictures that we have on the website at the time right now. But because obviously a lot of the issues that you're talking about go way further back, and I've
Yeah.
seen pictures of you with 2015, 2014,
Yeah, but this is
where
kind
you
of
looked very
where-
different as well. But
Yeah.
I mean, back then you were a little bit maybe. The fluctuation you can see
Yeah.
when you were going in and out. So this is 2018. We go up just a little bit. And we see 2019, and actually, I think the thinnest.
Yeah.
So this was, and you guys can see what happened is when she started to go crazy with the Ayurvedic stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it just went like bad fast.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I lost so
And-
much weight really fast.
Yeah, so
That
this
was-
is for all of you Americans out there. The 2 means February. Yeah, they do it backwards over there.
Mm.
So it's so this is the end of February. This is the beginning of February, and that's the beginning of February as well. Actually, this picture though this picture is was published in February. This picture's older. This is actually from 2019.
Yeah,
This-
this was when I was publishing my first book, but that was kind of really hand in hand when the book came out. That was 2019. I don't even know anymore. I was
Mhm.
really thin, and then you could see that. Maybe you go up, on that video. You
Well,
can see it
I'm going to
probably.
show
There's
I'm
another
going to
one,
show
right?
the hard one. I
the
think
hard one, yeah,
is this one,
yeah,
and you can
yeah.
really see that all of a sudden
my
she
face
started
was just
melting.
from my skull.
That was 2 months after
yeah.
this.
Yeah, I think I was
And that.
even losing more weight, and I was already at 55
Well,
something at that point.
I mean, from this picture here
Yeah.
up here, you were probably another, I would say, almost 15, 20 pounds lighter.
yeah, I
and
don't
that
know.
happened in
that
2
was
months
the worst
because you started doing all the Ayurvedic stuff,
Yeah.
and you started shredding, but bad, like your skin turned
Yeah.
yellow. All that
I
started
had no
happening.
bump anymore. It was just like straight up.
Two legs in a back.
It was awful.
Right.
Like also these
and
kind
so
of pictures.
now, what's crazy? So now you guys can start to see
when I went all in,
when she went all in.
at that face,
Right. So
yeah.
within a few months,
Yeah.
she went from
also if you go up
here-
again, to on the right hand side, that was when I gave an interview, and you see
Oh yeah,
already.
she wasn't happy about that. She came back to me. She's like, "I look like a sausage." And then she was on a TV show over here, and this was the biggest, I think, in 2021.
Yeah, I think I was my highest weight. I must have been around 85 kilo,
Yeah.
which so was almost 25 kilos on top.
Right.
And I have to say it was hard for me, although I was already really working on my body image, because that was a big part of All In, that you accept yourself no matter how you look, no matter what weight you have. And of course, it was hard for me to have so much weight on me because I never had that before.
Mhm.
And then I had my book release. I was a lot on TV, seeing these pictures of me. And I didn't want to look at them, but I really had to find that inner peace with that situation, because I felt actually great, to be honest. I felt very happy. I still, I was still happy to eat everything I wanted to. And it was a little bit, I had to, my body kind of went further and my mind was still back. So I had to bring myself into the same position. And it was a lot about body acceptance, and not to focus on the outside, but really focus on the inside and really look at who you really are and what makes you happy. So I completely shifted my focus on that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also it always, for all these people who are in the All In scene, these words like overshoot weight, right? This is actually the weight you gain extra on top of what you would actually weigh when you are in, your normal health status, like the set point weight, so-called. This is where your body wants naturally to be, and it's kind of a range between couple, like 10 kilos or something. And I was always around 70 kilos, so that's what I thought this must be actually my set point weight. And actually now I don't weigh myself. It was just last time.
I just bought a scale and she looked at it like it was the most evil thing in the world.
Well, I don't care anymore. So
but she was able to stand on it and say,
Yeah.
you know what, let's see what happens.
Yeah, I was just interested, and I kind of really felt that I was around maybe 75, 73 kilos, where I thought, like, this must be my set point weight now. And I was. So this is where I feel really happy, really healthy. I don't want to lose any more weight or anything like that. So, and I think my body is stable over a couple months now.
Yeah. I still think this is the most intense one, where you
Yeah.
see how you went from it's interesting. I mean, like you went from looking like you, and then 2 months later
Yeah,
to
it was a different person. No?
yeah, like you were a different person.
My ears are so big compared to the rest of them. Yeah.
Like immediately from here to there, we're talking 6 months later, going to there.
Yeah.
And then a couple months after this, so this was taking in October, and up here we have this big February following.
Yeah.
So I think that this is definitely where you plateaued, as you called it.
Yeah. I was there for a couple of months. So I think I was when I went all in March, and then I was on my plateau in November, December.
So now we have,
and then slowly
we have this, which was in February of 21, and then all of a sudden, here you are, July in 21. So all of a sudden, the weight completely came off, and you looked like you looked so much healthier and happier and radiant and all that. And to go to that question that we have just alluded is, has it was an issue in the relationship? Now I'll say this, and this may not be for every guy out there, because I think that a lot of people are numb.
Yeah.
Madeline starts smelling better. and we don't, like, I mean, this, whatever you guys want to think about this, I don't give a fuck. We don't wear cologne and perfume or deodorants, none of that stuff. We sweat, we eat healthy, and we smell each other. And so the point is that she the pheromones coming off of her naturally. They were definitely triggered me. But so the point is that no, absolutely not. I think that the weight increase was not an issue in the relationship. For me, I was so happy that she was becoming healthy. Aww. And she was becoming fearless.
Yeah.
Right. I think that those two things together was something that it was really nice to see her just get over that, even after all the years where I can see that was an issue of just this constant turmoil. Right.
I would even say that all in kind of also saved our relationship, because I was not nice to be around with, I guess. I don't know how long you can already stand that, with me.
Well, I wouldn't say that you were unpleasant.
But just very focused on myself all the time, and about the food, and I was angry a lot, and
all I could do is lead by example. I mean, there was nothing I could tell you, and the only example I could show you is that, look at me and how much I eat and how well I'm doing. And that was pretty much.
It took me a while to understand that.
And in her mind, she's like, yeah, but you're a dude and you've always been like that. You're genetically, formidable, perhaps. But the point is that it's not the case. Genetically formidable is not the case. I think that I never put myself under that stress in my life of starving myself. Because it's not just females. I've met a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And they, specifically men who, they were nice and slender. They hit 30 and the belly comes out. And then they start restricting to the point where it's just breakfast in the morning, and then they come home and they eat butter and beer and whatever. Right?
Yeah.
So
maybe go back to the relationship, just from my point of view. Of course, I thought like, oh, what will happen? But at the same time, I was really focused on me getting healthy, becoming healthy. And I felt like that Aris was happy that I became healthier through this. I know that there were a couple of situations where you kind of said, Maddy, you're sure this is a good thing? Because I even had these little heart thingies going on.
Well, the issue that I had was the amount of refined sugar you were chowing on. I think that eating as much as you want is as much as you feel like.
Yeah.
Is one thing, but when you start just only binging, and I've seen other women who went all in that really were just like Twinkies and Mars bars and McDonald's, and then they wondered why they had problems after. And at least with Madeline, I think us being in Germany was definitely a real benefit.
Yeah, but I would even say, if you binge on Mars bars and all that, is this not something that you would do for a long time? Even in the beginning,
during the first 2 months. Yeah, I get that. I do get that. But what I'm trying to express, and I think that this is something that you being a German person, in the US they label their food real because they have so much of it that's not real.
Oh, okay.
And over here all that stuff's just illegal. It doesn't make it to the shelf. And so there are no such things as GMO those over here in the same context. Like it's starting to come in slowly. You don't have to worry about the hormones. You don't have to worry about the genetically modified crap over here as much as possible. The German people, they're raised with breads, like 1,000 different types of breads that are made from the best grains you could ever think of. And so like for her, she started craving breads and she started craving flours and she started craving cheeses and dairy. And they have something over here called Quark, which is like a weird cheese yogurt mix thing. And so this is what she, and so I was getting concerned when she started actually buying, you know, like too many cookies that had like white refined sugar, where I'm thinking, you know, I think it's good that you're going all in, but I hope you're not just eating the cookies because there's nothing left in the kitchen. Right?
No, I wanted the cookies.
So she got the cookies.
Yeah, but these situations kind of also challenged me, because sometimes I ask myself, is that really is that really a good idea, Maddy? But I felt that I got better, and I really felt I can trust my body. This is what it wants. And it was also a very spiritual journey for me. And I kept saying that in my videos, because people always ask me, how did you deal with the weight gain? Because it was such an intense change in our lives when you go all in, that the sooner or later you'll have to tackle that question. And people trying, when I was on my plateau weight, always women asking, how long were you on the plateau weight until it went down? What did you do in order to get it off? And I said, well, I didn't really know anymore how long, but I didn't do anything to get it off, because that was not my focus. My focus was to heal and to become healthy.
Right.
And if that would have been necessary for me to stay there forever, well then, so be it.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I'm actually happy that I'm lost extra weight, because I feel where I am right now, where I have to be, where my body wants to be, and really naturally. I didn't do anything. I didn't restrict anything. And it really took me to understand it on a mental level, that the more you try to get rid of the overshoot weight, the more it won't work. It won't work. For all of you who have seen maybe the interview with Jessie Riemann and me, that's what she said, talked about this, that if this is your main goal because you want to get thin again, well, guess what? It won't happen because you want this so much just because to get somewhere. It's really about letting it go, but authentically, that you don't want this anymore as a goal for yourself, because then you're still in that whole eating disorder loop, right?
Yep.
If that's so important for you, but really just, you can accept that you don't like where you am right now. Say like, I weigh too much, but just accept that. And from there you can see, and then you can think of how would I like to have it. So-called manifestation idea, that you can change your life the way you want to, and you can also change your body weight the way you want to. And my goal was always like, I let my body do whatever it wants. It will guide me to the weight and where it wants to be, and maybe it takes a year or two, or I don't know how many, but this is how I always felt it. Like I trusted. I really trusted my body.
It's an interesting thing. I'm going to read off a couple more comments.
Yeah, be nice.
I think this is something that now you as a biologist, because we've had conversations about this previously, so I'm not just pulling this out of an empty hat, is that you're starting to see the body, like the human body and biology and nature and reality, as a type of technology.
Yeah, amazing.
That is so much further ahead than anything that we know.
Yeah.
And furthermore, I think that a lot of these diets and a lot of these, and this is my opinion now, a lot of these diets and a lot of these different programs and scientific statistics and all that stuff, this is kind of something that when I see that, it kind of shines light on that, that I think that people are reaching often because they haven't quite realized yet how amazing our bodies as technology, as amazing organisms are, that if we learn to listen to it, it will guide us. But to build that connection after being disconnected for so long can be quite difficult. And sometimes we need tools. And these tools might be something like All In to be able to get us reconnected. And that's what I saw with you.
That was actually just, it was a tool for me to really bring myself back into the flow,
Right.
into communication with my body, also trusting and really feeling the needs that I have. Now it's so easy for me. In the morning, I know what I want to eat, how much I want to eat. I eat and then I'm satisfied and I stop. So there is no thinking involved anymore. I remember all these rules that you have to eat until you're 80% full. And, and then he was like, I don't know, is that
More
80?
statistics.
My God, is that 70? I don't know. I'm already up to 90%.
Like, can I eat another 4 cookies?
Yeah,
right.
Is that 80%? So weird. But yeah, and this is also something that if you look in the whole industry, the fitness industry, the dieting industry, the first thing that they say, you have to make a plan and you have to, you have to control your body, because obviously if you let loose, it will just go crazy and eat as much garbage as
A
possible.
lot of those people that work in those kind of industries are people who fear uncertainty.
Yeah,
So they try to overdo the certainty
this is a
to the
big-
point where they
big
have
point.
no connection anymore.
Absolutely. And that was for me the main thing, to go all in, to open myself up for that uncertainty and to see how that will be. And it was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life, to be honest.
It's funny. One of my old coaches told me, he said, like, he saw me like eat a bunch at once, and he's like, your factory's working really good. And then he looked at me and he's like, when you're bigger, because I was a teenager, a kid at the time, and he says, when you're bigger, you could put on big muscles, and then you could eat like 6 cheeseburgers. But that's the way that he saw that. He said that these are the fun things you can do when you get to that size. That once you get like even Schwarzenegger attested to this, that once he started putting on that much muscle, and he was at his peak of like having all that bulk. He said he'd go into a food court with all of his buddies, and they would have like 8 hamburgers each, and it was like watching the circus come in and leave, right?
And basically what you said about the being afraid of uncertainty, your body will show you. So I have many women also ask me, what about, really overweight women where they have a lot of fat on them? Is that also, where does that come from? Will I end up like that if I going all in? And so my answer, and I also talked about this to other diet all in coaches, or whatever you want to call it, is basically a phenomenon over the years that when you always go back and forth between dieting and eating, dieting, restricting and eating, and again, that your body doesn't know what to do anymore. It's like you starve it, so it puts on fat even more time. The more you try to starve it off, and then you start eating again, it's just like a vicious circle where you put on more and more and more fat because your body doesn't know what's going on. And it's like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. I'll just have the reserves.
Yep.
And this is how people end up with these huge weights, right? So,
well, actually, I'd love to talk a little bit about that and put a question on first in order to bring it full circle.
Yeah. It was very busy today.
It's very busy, huh?
So, but it's nice.
So, Woke Up with Ashley asks, do you find yourself feeling like you should be eating, or that you should start eating healthier now that you are out of the danger zone in terms of weight? Now, I want to kind of, before you answer, because I have this objective view of what's going on.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? Madeline has been working full time now for about a year. And herein lies a big problem, is that she's not eating enough and not eating properly, like proper portions, and often enough because of the daily grind.
Yeah.
Now, this kind of goes back into what we were talking about. I want, definitely don't forget that point, because we all here want to hear what you have to say about that.
Okay.
But one thing I really want to talk about now with the ultra fat people. I grew up in Toronto when I was a kid, and I had a couple neighbors that were just belugas. They were massive. But you look at their recycle bin and it's full of 2-liter bottles of Coke, right? Now, that's one thing on the diet. But the other thing is then, I befriended them and I go over to their house, and most of my friends, they were like, I can't hang out with him. He just sits around all day and plays video games and watches TV. We go out bike riding and he's finished after 20 minutes and has to go home back to the couch. Now, I say this in a bit of a, I'm of the opinion. Now, this is again more my opinion, but I definitely from my lifetime of moving around a lot and having been around a lot of people, a lot of athletes in my industry, for all of you guys watching on YouTube, you can see that it says Smart Home Stupid People at the bottom. Yeah. And the reason why it says Smart Home Stupid People is because Madeline and I had started a video podcast that is mostly streamed on other platforms. This is a special occasion for putting it onto YouTube. And when I push this button, you guys see that I'm a building automation senior technician. I've been building how can I best explain it? But I've been working with technology for over 15 years, maybe 20 years, when it comes to building automation and so on and so forth. What is often labeled as smart homes. I hate the label, but it's just the way it is. And Madeline, being a biologist, we realized very quickly, we've been together now for quite some years, and we realized that our industries are no longer at odds, right? My industry is becoming more and more greenwashing, and her industry is becoming more and more greenwashing. And the way that they're doing it is it's funny. Like politically, when we sit at the boardroom meeting in the morning, the discussions are almost identical, and it's kind of scary when you really think about it that way. That this bridge between technology and biology is like no longer there. Like Madeline's telling me often about how most biologists now just sit in front of a computer and analyze samples that they have delivered to them from the animal that they're supposedly studying that they've never seen in their life.
Yeah.
And so from my side, I work with a lot of people, and so have you with your studies. And unfortunately, as a biologist, after you finished school, you pretty much just sit at a desk.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in my world, it's not very dissimilar in the sense that once you've got enough experience in the field installing stuff and cabling things and pulling wires and all that stuff, eventually you get more into architecture work, where you start doing more AutoCAD drawings, and then you start doing more planning, and then you start doing more project managements and so on and so forth, and system designing. And the reason why I say this is because I'm very strongly of the opinion that your body will reflect the life that you lead. And if you think that you can sit for 8 to 12 hours a day on your ass in front of a computer and eat all in and be healthy, you have another thing coming to you. And it sounds very harsh the way I say that, but I say it because, like I said, I came from a background where I was around people who were extreme athletes, and then I was around people who were completely the opposite in my work environment, and it was always really funny to see that difference.
Yeah, but I think you have to distinguish that, when you go all in, or as I did, I also didn't exercise, and I couldn't. I was so
No, but you were
tired.
talking about the people who were afraid of becoming really big.
Yeah.
Right?
When you are already go all in, but these people mainly have also that history from dieting and over exercising. That's why you at the beginning say, don't exercise, just eat until you are kind of stable. And I think what you describe is also, it's always a long-term journey. These people, they have a history, and I think it's the same with going having underweight. It's also the same with overweight, where you start. There's a reason for that, and maybe it's like a emotional issue, something that trauma, whatever, that you don't want to deal with, and then you end up in that kind of lifestyle where you become that body, or Well,
I guess the real question is, with the people mostly who are gravitating towards all in, are they coming from? Because I back home, I knew quite a few women who were anorexic and bulimic.
Yeah.
And they were anorexic and bulimic, but not necessarily athletes or trying to be healthy. They were just trying to be slim because they've seen that picture portrayed so many times that this is what sells. And so I think that's the big thing that I really wanted to focus on, is I think that with you can see it, is that by going all in, not only did it alter the way that you viewed reality, it made you happier, everything came together,
absolutely.
but you really did alter the way that you chose to live your life actively, right? The way that you started doing exercise and sport, as you mentioned, you started to realize that some of the sports that you were doing, you didn't really enjoy them, and so you don't want to do them anymore, and you just got over it, right?
I just really felt that time for me being a pause from everything. I was over exercising for many, many years, and I needed that long break to kind of, come back to an equilibrium. But I think these are two extremes, right? Being people who are really thin and then already overweight. And I think I've heard also from some women who actually were not underweight, but in a normal range, but still had no period, and felt like they were restricting for many years, and that's why they went all in. And sorry, my words,
it's like the microphone.
They also gained weight, right? But it kind of stabilized over time then as well.
Yeah.
So and it's a very individual journey. It's really hard to say how these things come together for people, then depending from the history, also your age and all that. So,
but going back to the question, now that you're over, are you concerned that you should be eating healthier now? And I know that you've said this because that you don't
So if
eat.
I try, right?
Yeah, it says, do you find yourself do you start finding yourself feeling like you should start to eat healthy? Like, is it a mental thing?
No.
And I know that you've alluded to that a little bit because of the fact that, like, with work, that you don't have, you're not eating properly enough, and that's why I was saying is that there's a balance between environment and lifestyle,
absolutely.
and diet. I mean, it's not one or the other, and that's kind of what I was really getting at. I was really getting at that your body will be like, I mean, your body's so much smarter, I think, than most of us give it credit.
And also, it wants to move itself. You know, it's not like if you are in your equilibrium, if you like in your nature, it's not that you sit the whole day on the couch. I haven't had the opposite problem. I'm running around all day and try to really have to slow myself down. But coming to that question now, so. No, with me, I feel I really have a very stable eating, pattern. I like vegetables. I haven't eaten vegetables for many months after going all in. I
was all cheese and sugar and
I didn't like fruits for over a year. I would say that was just because I had so much of it, and also. All these foods I was eating when I was on restriction, like eggs and what else do I had? Fish and all that. So a lot of protein stuff. I couldn't see it anymore. I didn't want to have it for always a year. And after a year,
a bit traumatic.
a year and a half, I started eating vegetables again. I started eating fruits again, and now it's just like, I would say it's just a very normal diet, which means when I go for lunchtime, for example, at my work, I always love that because then it's still for me.
Now you can look at all the food, not just a couple little pieces.
It's still amazing for me to be able to choose whatever I want. And sometimes I want the burger, and sometimes I want the vegetable soup, or sometimes I want pasta with vegetables and a little bit of meat. So it's a very, I would say, like, I'm a very omnivorous person now. And what does healthy mean, right? So that's the other question. Like, I've been to my doctor a couple of times during my all-in time, always checking my blood work. It was always fine. So that's how I see it.
And that's the amazing thing too, is that actually all the issues that all the doctors had originally told her that she may face, her hormones and this and that,
everything came back to normal
within really a few months.
Yeah, it was so quick.
Your period was consistent, and your blood work came back as everything in the green.
Yeah.
Right.
That was amazing, and still is to that day. I have no multiple sclerosis, and
crazy,
my bladder, everything went fine. What I would say the argumentation or the solution to that problem was because I was actually really eating myself alive. There are around the nerve cells you have the so-called myelin cells, which are protein. It's kind of a protein cover in order to increase the isolation, so that you have a faster travel on the nerve, on that nerve cell. And
so this is essentially a line of amino acids is what you're talking about.
Well, it's like a protein that's kind of wrapped around. It's like a cell that's wrapped around the nerve cell, that long part.
It's kind of like the opposite of a wire. When you think of a wire, the copper's on the inside, and then you have a good insulation. In the human body, the way that I learned it is that you have the nervous system, and then you have your things like the omega 3s. My God, I'm speaking German. Omega 3s that help insulate, for example, the entire nervous system, and like you're saying, various proteins and so on and so forth that allow the messages to be transmitted better with more efficiency between the brain and wherever.
I don't know if this is the same thing, but anyways, there are these parts around the nerve cells, and I think I read somewhere when you are starving yourself, your body actually starts using that these proteins, you kind of, eating yourself up. And then the nerve cells have inflammation, all that, and they're not able to transmit the information proper. And this is exactly what happened to me.
It is exactly that. What you're talking about is exactly that. Because I know this, again, from my background, is that when you have inflammation, your brain sends the message to tell the joints that, hey, there's something going on. Maybe you have a splinter, maybe you have impact. make it swollen, but change the pH level to try and get rid of the bacteria and the viruses and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If that be the case. And then send the joints are responsible for sending the messages back to the brain saying, hey, we're better now. Now, the problem is that sometimes what happens is, like you mentioned, is that when you're malnourished, one, you don't have enough of the good stuff coming in. So your body starts actually cannibalizing itself and removing things that it needs, but from non-essential areas. The problem is that now you end up with chronic inflammation issues. You end up with a whole variety of issues that are happening just because of the communication network not being
so
intact.
that was the issue with the bladder, right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
So,
I would say that's probably the case.
Yeah, I would say so too, because now I'm fine. I don't have that problems anymore.
Yeah.
And also my hair grew back. I had
that was a big
horrible
one.
hair loss. I always had to wear kind of a wig thing.
But you had hair loss before the all in. That's the big important thing.
I had the hair loss before all in, and once I started eating proper, I could really see all the little hairs coming back. And I have much better hair, and I was also healthier. And what else? My hormones got better. I have no digestion problems whatsoever anymore. I'm very regular, very healthy on that level too. So I can sleep better. I'm, my hormones already said that. Yeah, all good. So, and it's now 2.5 years after I went
Crazy. So we have here from Morbid Possum. That's a good name. I still find it very difficult to concentrate on things. I enjoy reading and writing. Do you struggle with your concentration, during the all in? And she said that's my last question. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah. So during my all in with the concentration, let me think. I was only concentrating on eating.
You started writing. Were you writing at the time?
I was almost at the end. I was almost at the end. I remember that one. And I was also, I was lucky with the whole all in, because that was when the whole pandemic thing started. So people were at home.
And you were just able to gorge all day.
I was at home.
Yeah, really,
I was eating a lot. I didn't care. I didn't need to go anywhere. And I was focusing on my book. But I do remember that at the beginning I had problems with concentrating, because I could feel that, there was so much going on in my body. I had pain and I was tired all the time. I was just always sleepy.
Right.
I went from my bed to the kitchen and back.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's funny because you mentioned, like we've talked about before, that your head was out of the clouds, but the concentration issue that you had was more just a fatigue.
I was tired. I was really tired physically and also mentally. And so I really gave that in. I was sleeping a lot. I was eating for the first 3-4 months. And I was happy because I could do this. I had no work on that level. I was writing on my book, but other than that, I had nothing else to do. So that helped a lot to just focus on healing and eating and relaxing. And now I actually can feel it when I haven't eaten enough, that I can feel my concentration level drops down. I can, I'm burning a lot of energy in my head, working a lot with my head. And then my body tells me, just go and eat something sugary that goes right into your head, so you're up on the level again. Yeah.
So we have 2 comments. These are both age related. I'm 33, and it's so nice to hear from someone your age about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've been worried that I'm too old to properly recover.
Yeah.
And the next comment is similarly, I will be 40 in March, so similar to you. You'll be 40 in January.
Yep.
And just now entering full recovery after 20 years of struggling. So don't ever give up hope. Now, this is an important thing, is that you definitely, you started doing this whole thing probably when you were about 38.
Well, so I'm 39 now. I was 37.
You think so?
Yeah, I was 37. Yeah, so 2.5 years
ago.
2020.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And the sorry to cut you off, but the real thing is that I think that if you, obviously before premenopause, let's just put it that way, it's probably the best thing you could ever. I think that any time, I don't think there ever is a time to say that it's too late to do that. Obviously postmenopausal, you have to be worried about the arteries and the sugars and this kind of stuff. That was what you were really talking about with a lot of these health issues. And like I was saying, is I think that if you're in a younger, healthier age, then the ability to recover is definitely there, but it's never ever too late, I think, to get over, because as we mentioned before, the big thing that you had to get over was not the eating disorder, it was the fear.
Yeah,
Right?
which came with the eating disorder. It was intertwined. But yeah, you're right. When I started, I watched the videos of all these very young girls. They went all in when I was about 20, at the end of 20. So I thought to myself, oh, I don't know if that will work for me. But I had nothing to lose, so that's why I tried it. And I thought, I don't want to already be in menopause. I missed so many of my periods. This can't be it. So that's why I started, and more also met other women. Like, I think also Jessie Reedman, she must have been my age. So when she went all in, I must have been also in her mid-30s, maybe earlier. But yeah, it's not too late, and your body is amazing in healing itself. Well, one thing is it might take a little longer because you already have this long history of restriction, as she said, 20 years. I mean, this is a long time, but the same with me. And
really, when you look back, that you mentioned your first restriction memory that you have, you were 11.
Yeah, and so no wonder that it was so intense. But also on the other hand, it only took me a year to fully recover.
That's nothing.
That's nothing compared to the time that I was starving myself. And I'm still so thankful for my body. And every day I am being so happy that this all works. And we are a team now. It's not me and my body. It's not separated anymore, but it's a team. And I'm really appreciating it.
This is something I'd love to talk about and take the opportunity as well, because as we mentioned before with Smart Home Stupid People, I think one of the big reasons why I wanted to put this show together today on Smart Home Stupid People, and then obviously we realized at the last moment, no, we should really put this onto YouTube on your All In channel as well. Was because the main question that we often put forward is, could it be that the more accommodating that our environment becomes, that we lose the ability to take care of ourselves? And this is a very strong question for us that we often talk about privately together. With my industry, where I see a lot of people not knowing anything about the simple stuff in their homes. And I'm asking myself, really, at the end of the day, how can you put so much money down on something that you don't really have any idea about? And in the end, you're going to struggle because you don't have the ability to go back to any other type of normal system. But this question goes even deeper. With Madeline, it was her study on the rabbits, that they all migrated into the city. They lost the ability to have what is called their flight initiation distance, meaning that the ability to flee, which is the rabbit's main ability for avoiding predation, right?
Yeah.
And eventually they all disappeared, and nobody really knows why they disappeared. And so that was that really interesting moment where we're thinking, with the stress book being written and all that stuff, that it's really important to make these connections, like you were saying, to you, to your body, because when you lose these connections, do you really lose what you don't use? I think that's one of those big, scary ideas, right?
If you know that it's, that you have to have your period in order to be healthy, once you skip a period, you already would have paid attention to what's going on,
right? Because
you have that connection to your body. But it took me how many years, 20, to realize that, because I never had that connection to my body, and it was never really brought to me to be something that I have to look at.
Well, and the other idea is now when we say smart homes, stupid people, what is a home?
Yeah, your body is a home,
I would definitely say that you have to consider your body to be your first and foremost home. Like, in the material world, this is where you first live.
Yeah, it's a nice analogy. That's true.
Yeah, and so this is a big reason why I want to put this on this platform. And the last podcast that we have done together, this is now our 18th episode, doing this twice a week now. The last one was about the food chain, and this just kind of segued really well. Yeah. From that, and
also a nice possibility for me to give an update, because I haven't published anything in a while.
That's what I was thinking too. I was thinking, maybe, why don't you stand up?
You want me to stand up?
Stand up. I think that they want to see, the full Madeline now.
Well, I have to take that with me then,
you can take it with you if you'd like to. Yeah, go for it.
I don't know if that works now.
So. See, so you guys can see.
So I have my shirt in it. But I'm just very normal, I would say, and use the rest of me.
Yeah, exactly.
I also feel very fit, although I'm exercising.
Your stomach's getting flatter too.
Yeah,
all this, and that happened without you really trying.
That's absolutely something that happened within the last month or two. And as I said, 2.5 years all in now, that was always something that was with me for the whole time, my belly. And I learned to love it. I'm actually kind of missing it now. It's like something is missing here.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know why. I was sick a little. I had
like a flu. Yeah.
And I was not up to eating anything for actually 2 or 3 weeks. I barely ate anything because I felt my body just didn't want to have anything, and so be it. I was a little concerned not to fall back into the whole restriction thing, but then I checked in again and said, no, I don't need anything, I'm good. And I didn't lose a lot of weight in that time, so it was just my body figuring it out on its own.
Yep.
But then I realized that my body, my belly got flatter. Maybe it's also from the stomach training that I'm doing now and really enjoying it. Not doing it because I want to have the abs, because they are nicely covered under my my little blanket here. But just because it's fun. I really like the exercise that I'm doing right now. And yeah, this is also really nice. I'm not so much into the whole pressure of me anymore that I have to do 2 to 3 hours exercising a day, which was horrible, putting all this in a schedule. I was always on the time, always on the clock running. And now I have my life back and I can just enjoy it.
That's right. So for those of you guys watching out there, we are live on Rockfin, Rumble, Twitch, DLive, Telegram. Now, Telegram's an interesting thing. We typically also stream to Telegram. We chose to not do that this time because we decided to stream to the YouTube channel instead. But for all of you guys on the YouTube side, we're gonna be I think ending the show in the next 15-20 minutes, definitely. It's getting that time for us.
If there are more questions, then
so if there are any more questions, and as I was just about to mention, is if you want to join the Telegram app channel, you can call into the show and talk to us live. And you could obviously always post the chat, the questions in the chat. That's easy too. But if you actually want to call in, then check out Smart Home Stupid People. Let me just show this. We have the Smart Home Stupid People channel. And we also have the Smart Home Stupid Chat, which is the bi-directional chat that allows you guys to talk to us while we are actually, like, depending on the platform that you're on, it's a nice centralized way to be able to get all the comments put together and also allow any of you guys to want to just mention, hey, I'd like to call in, and we can call you and bring you into the show and talk to us. So again, Smart Home Stupid People is the channel name. Smart Home Stupid Chat is the chat name. We'll leave it up for another 10, 15 minutes. And if any of you guys want to call in, now's the time. Or post your questions to Madeline. So is there anything else that you'd wanted to go over and talk about, Maddy, before leaving for today?
Yeah, something I actually always say at the end, because I think it's so important for all of you guys who are all in right now, and maybe you got stuck in it somewhere, especially when you're on your plateau weight and you feel like, it's not moving anywhere. I'm eating for months now and I'm still there and I'm accepting everything and I'm doing all the positive work, but it's not going anywhere. I think there is always something else you can look at. There's always a deeper reason. I think with me, my whole journey went really smooth and very fast, because right at the beginning I solved the main issue for me that made me so afraid of gaining the weight, which was just that old memory of, like the abuse and all that, just the whole connection with my body. And when you are at that point where you feel like there must be more, it's really worth to dig deeper and to look at it. And if you can't do it yourself, find a good, I don't know, maybe shamanic healer, whatever, psychologist, I don't know, because from my experience, it's only talking. It's not really going very deep into the traumas, or maybe you do hypnosis or anything like that, where you can really look at the reasons for why you're so afraid of staying at your weight, or why you are not, why it's not moving. What is it still, what's still there, but that holds you back. And so all in is always an opportunity for you to really free yourself from that old stuff and to restart a new life fresh.
Yeah. And I must say that, you having the YouTube channel was actually a very positive experience, because you were able to meet other women, specifically in the German-speaking world, who culturally and physically related to what your issues
Yeah,
were,
yeah,
and
yeah,
were
it was
able
nice.
to really say, I tried, I don't know, I failed, I tried again.
Yeah.
But I think that support group was, and even me, and you had a couple other friends. I don't think you had anybody around you who really wasn't supporting what you were up to.
No, it's true. I was really lucky, and I'm still thank you for that. That no one really said, oh, Madeline, what are you doing? What the hell? You're crazy. But maybe some people weren't so sure, but I always had full support from my friends and family.
I remember a couple work colleagues of mine, when you were speaking to them, that they specifically even said, I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Because of that fear is just so intense with some people, that they said that, I could see that what you're up to is definitely good for you, but I don't think I'd have the strength or the ability to fall through with something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what would you say to people like that now?
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, it was really worth going through all that struggle, and it was the only way to really free myself from that. And I actually feel for that lady I talked to, because I know how it feels like. I know what kind of a prison she puts herself into, with all the restrictions, with all the controlling, and just that fear. She's controlled by this, and this is not a life, like not a life that I want to live anymore. So I am on the other side now, and I can draw that the opposites between it. I can see the differences.
I can actually say I think your memory got better too.
That could be, yeah.
Yeah, looking at it, try to think of real memories and stuff like that from before going all in, and put them into order, and see if you have any trauma on that side. That might be actually an interesting thing, because I can definitely say that now, that when I remember when for the first couple of years when we were together, it was actually sometimes very difficult for you to put things into chronological order.
Yeah, that might be true. Yeah.
No, sorry, I just thinking about that right now.
Well, just in general, my whole mental capacities increased enormously. I don't know how I wrote my first book. To be honest, my PhD, that would have been probably would have taken me 7 years, but only 5 or 3.
Right.
4. Yeah. So good on that.
There we go. So we have no more questions coming up.
Perfect.
I think this was actually quite nice.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Any take-home message?
Well, I already said that, kind of, keep going. If you're already all in, then don't go back, really. And also, there's at one point you feel like you can't go back anymore. Then you are so far in that, and it won't help you to go back, because you will always be at the same point again. So it's really push through it, find that reason, what's holding you back, and then you'll be fine. Yeah. And just really take it with humor as well. I think this is something that I learned. I was always so serious with everything. Also, when you said, like you had a friend that was like a beluga, I'm sure some people might already like choking like I was right now. But I really just took that with fun already, and I knew that I gained a lot of weight. I looked pregnant. Even there was a kid in the supermarket.
Yeah, who asked you when the baby's coming?
She said to the mom, she's like, look, she has a baby soon. I was like, no, I'm just like
just eating cookies.
I'm just eating cookies. So, and just trying to play with this, and from I had to cry from that, but on the other hand, I was like, it was also kind of funny, I have to say. And just to bring back that humor, and it's not the end of the world, right? So you still have, I still had my support around me, and I still had myself. I had my I pursued a lot of things that I was not doing before, because I had no time. I was exercising constantly. I was eating and planning the meal stuff and all that. So I started making music again. I started going back to drawings, and had the idea to the next book and all these things. So there was so much coming out of me that I was not focusing on my body anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
I would definitely say that the few big things that I would take out of this, from being with you the whole time through it, your head out of the clouds.
Yeah. Sometimes it's still back in, but it's not that often anymore.
No, but it's different. It really is. Like you're more present in the moment.
Yeah.
Your ability to connect to reality is, and I think that this is one of those big things. I mean, if I could interject my own take home message into this whole thing is, and this is kind of the one of the main take home messages with Smart Home Stupid People, is the more you connect to reality, the better things will inevitably always be.
Yeah.
Right? Nature is a word that's synonymous to reality. This is a big thing that we talk about often on our show, Smart Home Stupid People. And because it's synonymous to reality, the idea of even labeling nature as something that's outside of our standard civilization and experience is something that creates a disconnect. And it's the same thing like you were saying too, that all of a sudden you realized that your body was connected. You know, that you had a couple that you felt that you weren't connected to yourself. And I think that was the big thing that I noticed. That was the big aha moment when Madeline mentioned that her head was coming out of the clouds and she just felt awake and alive for the first time in years.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? Then all of a sudden the ability to reconnect and to find joy in what she wanted to pursue. Realized that she was pursuing things perhaps that wasn't even bringing her joy. It was more like robotic. She was going after goals that were tedious and just there for like maybe to prove to somebody, you know, that you were worth something.
Yeah, it was all intertwined, and it really had to do with my self-worth, right? And also proving that I'm enough, and I never felt enough. I felt like, you know, I have to achieve more, I have to lose more weight. So this urge is gone. I don't feel like I have to prove myself anymore. I'm just perfect the way I am. And this was also something that I learned when I was on my highest weight. I thought like, you know, this is also good. Well, also, you know, just how I am right now, and you will change. It's also something that you have to accept. You never know how you will look like in a couple of years. But I am very much convinced by that. If you have a positive mindset and you know that you, with your thoughts, you can create your reality. We are all, you know, we are all making our own lives reality. And if you constantly think like, oh, with age, I'm getting, you know, like I will have wrinkles and I will get sick and all that. This is a mindset. Yes, of course. Then this is what you will manifest. But if you think like with age, I'm getting more beautiful and all that, this is how I experienced it, and also know it from other people who are using the whole manifestation. Your thoughts are so strong. They have such a big impact on your life. And if you're constantly thinking that you're not good enough, that you are too fat or too thin or not fit enough and all these things, you will manifest that, and your life will reflect that constantly. But if you start thinking about yourself as an amazing creature that has all these body reactions going on, and just something that is just as beautiful as a flower, or I don't know, just really make that connection that you are part of everything that is around you, and you are an important part to be here, just as you are. Whatever you bring with you, all the talents that you have, this is just how it should be. And once you accept who you really are, then the journey will really start.
There we go. Very well said.
Thank you.
I think that's a nice. That's a nice sentence to end the show on.
Yeah, that's what I say. There's one more comment, or
Morbid Possum. I skipped a comment earlier.
Oh, okay.
Morbid Possum asked if this is going to be available on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, once it's done with the live stream, then we can just.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut out the first 15 minutes of us talking into the air. But other than that, you intend on keeping this on your channel.
Yes, I will fix that up, and then we'll upload it on my channel, and you can rewatch it again. And yeah, sure.
There we go. Actually, there are a couple little things.
All right.
Maybe not questions. It looks like we're getting spammed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Look at that. Yeah, it's just coming in over and over again. Sexchat69.site. What a cunt. All right.
No, that's what a cunt.
Yeah. All righty.
I like whatever I have, you know, I really try to. I was always myself on the YouTube channel, to be honest, but I was not swearing.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that we're on your YouTube, so I should probably curb that a little bit.
It's fine.
All righty. Well, anyway, I'm sure you guys feel the same about this anyway.
Yeah.
But nevertheless,
okay.
This was a fantastic show. Smart Home Stupid People with Madeline and what did you call your? I'm sorry. What did you call your channel?
Dr. Madeline.
No. Sorry.
Maddy goes all in.
Maddy goes all in. There we go.
The English version. I started the first couple of videos are actually in German, because, as I said, you know, there was no material available in German, and then more and more people from England or, you know, Australia and the US asked me, oh, can you please provide something in English as well? So I started recording my videos. Always the first part is in German and the second part in English. So after I don't know which month, then you can have both worlds.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So
all right.
Someone loved what you said.
Perfect.
Good stuff.
The morbid possum. I love that.
Yeah, I'd like to know, Morbid Possum, what your name is about.
Well,
Honestly, write that in the comment later on. Let us know.
that's the possum was always like kind of sad and I don't know. Are possums, are these ones the one they play dead, right? Or is it the opossum? I always mix them up. The
I have
possums are the
no
one,
idea.
yeah, they play dead and they start even to roll up their eyes and really lay on the back so that when a predator comes, that's why it probably is the morbid, right?
I
So
don't
because
know.
they're like,
Only
ugh.
Morbid Possum can acknowledge that properly.
Anyways, thank you guys for being part of the show and asking questions. And yeah, all the best for you wherever you are in beginning, middle, or end of all in. Well, and once you're all in, I think you were forever all in.
There we
Kind
go.
of, yeah.
Well, there were a few people that actually came across who went all in and had to break because it was too much weight gain, it was too much this and that.
Yeah, as I said, on a journey, sometimes you have to make these stops to just consider, what to do next. And these points are important, and because they will show you something and they will open up you something that you have to solve first before you can continue on your journey. And sometimes it's part of the journey to go back and forth. I did that too, right? So
yeah, and as we just were talking about a few minutes ago, was I was talking about the idea of connecting to reality.
Yeah.
Right. I think that this is one of these things. I think that if going all in doesn't work for you, there may be a different struggle.
As I said, there is always more behind the
Right.
scenes, right?
And that's what you showed over and over again, is that actually going all in was a tool that you used that eventually helped you find other problems and the source of other problems.
Absolutely.
And it really, all in was, I think, one of the scariest things for you. And then once you were able to get over that huge hump, of being afraid to start something like that, then all of a sudden all your other fears start coming up. You're like, well, I can look at you now too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're not as bad as I thought, because all in was really bad.
Yeah, that was really like jumping for me would be jumping out of an airplane constantly.
Yeah. So
and but I realized nothing happened to me. I gained the weight, but I mean, the world was still spinning. I was still able to go outside and do the things that I love to. It was physically a huge challenge, but I was still alive and I could live my life.
There we go.
Yeah.
Very
Perfect.
well.
All right.
All right, everybody. This has
right.
been a great episode of Smart Home Stupid People with Maddy Goes All In. Until next time, if we do something like this again, we'll definitely be posting it and
Sure.
keep you guys posted.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Until then,
Bye-bye.
keep well.